hit subscribe to Facebook Live. Wet hair edition. Do you have wet hair too? Yeah. We showered for you. Anyway, what are we talking about today? We're talking about what we learned about topic planning. So this is going to be a large part you again, the Eric show.
Why does it look so washed out on here? Oh, that's better.
You want me to get the light out? Would you guys?
No, I think it's probably okay. Like, it was just... This is a strange thing. It also popped, like, the notification to us being live, saying that we were live. It's always an adventure with this app.
Yeah, Angela and I had a little complications. Like, I'm glad we set up early because there were some things. Well, all right. So, what if a client comes to us and says, "All right, we would like you to, make our posting calendar. We want you to plan out the post for the next 3 months or whatever." What are your next questions for them? Like, what information do you need from them in order to plan?
For planning a commercial blog. Oh, for goodness sake!
There's a mascot. Hit subscribe, mascot.
He's just gonna wail.
Hold him and he'll be the mascot.
For the sake of planning a client, there's a lot that goes into this. So, I was thinking, information needed when planning a post. Like, maybe the easiest thing is to talk first about, if you were starting a blog, what would you as an individual plan? Because that's, a lot different than what we do commercially. And, as an individual, I don't know, tell me if you agree with this, but I think, planning, if you're starting your own hobby blog or affiliate marketing blog or whatever, the planning that you do should just be to, brainstorm a list of things you feel like writing about, get that backlog written, and start producing that way. Because if you kind of try to form, a commercial plan, you're going to kill yourself with procrastination. You'll have all kinds of reasons, not to actually write posts, because the hardest thing initially is content. So I guess starting, from the most basic level, the plan is just write, get in the habit of writing, publish, tune as you go. If you start to have a more commercial interest, that's where things, I would say, get a little more interesting. If your commercial interest, for instance, is affiliate marketing, once you've created that writing muscle memory, then you want to probably start to figure out ways to bring in organic traffic or direct traffic, figure out ways to get the content in front of people, and then put your affiliate links into that content so that you can be making money. And that's maybe the most basic form of a plan, all the way on up to then what we do with our clients, where we're planning dozens of blog posts per month.
Do you think it would be helpful to go through maybe an example, of something I don't know if this is a good one, and maybe I can pivot if you don't think it's a good one. What is he doing?
He's just gonna drool all over me.
We have a cat that was taken from mom too early, and so he salivates when he gets very loving. Show them the drool.
Oh, he doesn't have any right now. He's saving it all for my shirt.
So how about, I don't know, and tell me if this isn't a good example, but let's say that here in Michigan we have a lot of local wineries. It's a really good region for grapes. So say that I go and I make really small batch wines. I go pick grapes from wineries, and my goal is to kind of get my name out there for my craft small batch wines, but I kind of want to center on maybe my readers are interested in Michigan wines in general. How would you, what information would you need from me in order to have a blogging calendar that you thought was going to get results eventually, resulting in my wines becoming more popular?
I'm trying to think of how to describe this concisely. You would kind of the way that we do planning, and that I'm sort of teaching people internally and trying to scale it beyond me, is to look at the end goal and work backwards. So in the case of, and it's a little interesting to do this right off the cuff, but a winemaking operation, you start to think first, okay, what does a conversion or a sale look like? And in this case, it's maybe a visit to the winery or a mail order of a crate of wines.
Sure.
So then you start to think, well, okay, how major a purchase is this, and who is going to make that purchase? Because this is what's called a buyer persona. And then you have to think of the likelihood of somebody going from landing on your website somehow to actually making a purchase.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of a creative wine, that's a purchase that, you know, any reasonably affluent individual could make. So there's not a group of people that have to decide to buy it. It's not a major purchase like a car that you're going to talk over with your family. You're going to say, oh, this wine looks pretty good. I can get a crate in the mail for $60, so I'm going to do that. And that starts to influence how you structure the content. So you'll probably want a lot of posts that are like, you know, a Michigan wine buyer's guide, or, you know, 10 great Michigan wines. You start to try to bring people in via search with things that are going to be related or relatable to the sort of people that are going to make that purchase. And then you'll write content in this case that's like, you know, here's how to look for a good wine in Michigan, or Michigan's big on fruit wines. So, you know, the 10 best Michigan fruit wines or something. And what you'll do in that post is maybe you list one of your own wines in there with like a link to go buy it. That's something you could do. Or you could say at the bottom, hey, you know, we put together this list and we feel like we're an unbiased source, but we do sell wine. You know, we specialize in this type of fruit wine or small batch grape wine or whatever. So if you're interested, go here and buy. And so that's kind of what I mean by working backwards from like what your eventual goal is for people. You're going to work backwards to planning out that content. And when you're planning the blog posts, what we do and what I would encourage anyone with like a commercial interest in blogging to do is to establish a mission for each blog post that you write and a KPI, like what does success look like? So if we write a blog post that's like the 10 best Michigan fruit wines, what we probably want to measure there is how many people that read that page go and click on the, you know, order a crate page. And then what we probably also want to do with that page is try to rank for like 10 best Michigan wines or something, or best Michigan wines. And so we're going to measure, you know, are we ranking for that term? And with the people that come in, are they clicking on this link? Mm-hmm. So for us, all of our planning involves those concerns. Like, how are we measuring success? You know, what are we trying to accomplish with this post? Who is it that's going to be reading it? How are we going to get the post in front of them? Mm-hmm. So that can be a lot of information. That's why I wanted to start off at the beginning with a caveat. Like, if you're just starting a blog, just write content. You know, don't worry too much about this. As you get into the habit of writing content, you can start to then look at like what sorts of content should you write? What's the channel that's going to bring people to it? Are you going to write it and do some kind of paid search to like get people to the post? Are you going to go and promote the heck out of it on Twitter and bash people over the head with like, hey, go read my blog? Mm-hmm. You know, are you going to send it in email to all of your friends?
I think it's a good idea. So you were talking about like what does purchasing look like? You know, it's a probably, you know, reasonably affluent person, but maybe not. Maybe, you know, a bottle of wine maybe costs $20. A crate of wine, you know, most people could probably, individuals could afford that. But when we're talking about like selling something to an enterprise, something that's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars that a company is going to buy, that's also important information probably to know up front so that we can set up good KPIs, because we wouldn't want a KPI on a blog post for something like that be like, well, you click and you buy your product, because that's like probably not going to happen. Like clicking to buy a bottle of wine could happen. Clicking from a blog post and then like instantly, you know, making a huge purchasing decision for a company is probably not the same thing. So that's another like probably good thing to have in mind. Like, what's lifetime value of a customer and stuff like that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is consequences of not having that information up front. Like, we would want to know like who's your buyer, how much does your product cost, like what kind of investment is this going to be, and if we don't know that up front, we might not be empowered to set up the right KPIs for each blog post. I don't know, you think it's fair to say?
I would go further. If you don't have the right information up front, it's just going to be kind of an unproductive mess. So we typically we want to work with our buyers to understand like what they're trying to do with the blog, because in a commercial setting there are really a lot of different goals. Some of our clients are interested in just getting traffic, and the reason is that they have a plan where they're going to use remarketing through like social media. And then all their goal is reasonably with the blog post is just to attract traffic, so the more views the better. We have some clients that all they're looking to do with the blog is have a funnel, you know, a series of engagements that eventually end in a sales conversation. A lot of application development consultancies are like this, where lifetime value of a customer is 6-7 figures. And when you've got that going on, nobody's like Amanda said, nobody is going to go online and say, hey, I've read a few articles from Acme Consulting, so yes, now I want to commission a 7-figure project. Buy. Like, that's not a reasonable thing. So without understanding kind of a broader mission of what we're doing with this content or what the client's going to do with the content, it can be nonsensical. So if we don't understand the value of the customer, we don't understand a lot of this going in. Like, let's take, for instance, we have a content only plan where we might go to a client and say, if you know what you want us to write about, just give us the topics and we'll write about those topics. We used to do that kind of without asking questions. And so they would give us, a backlog of topics and we would write them and it would do absolutely nothing for them. So maybe the engagement would end because why continue? And what we were learning is that, maybe the clients were just kind of emulating what they saw on other blogs and just picking topics almost at random. Yeah. And they weren't ranking, they weren't bringing in traffic through Google because they weren't designed to do that. The client didn't have much of a following, so nobody was reading these posts in the front doors. Simply nobody was seeing the posts. So without an understanding of the goals and without kind of a plan for how to get eyeballs on it, you could be doing absolutely nothing. So like we've evolved over the course of time to ask questions, and when we agree to do a content only client, we have like an actual template that they have to fill out. Yeah. And we won't work with a client that doesn't know how to fill that out. And it's not to be snooty. Right. It's because we don't want to be doing work that doesn't do anything for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like if you're going to be paying us, we want you to see results from what you're doing with us.
So I mean, yeah, it can be anything from like a slight miss on planning if we have the wrong KPIs to like a complete waste of money if you're just paying to have blog posts written with no plan as to how to realize any kind of return on them. Mm-hmm. But I would like to tie it back to say, if you're out there doing some kind of hobby blogging or you're creating a blog and trying to build a following, thinking that maybe later you'll monetize it, don't worry about any of this. You don't need some kind of sophisticated plan if you just enjoy writing, want to try to gain followers. The hardest thing is to get used to creating content.
Yes.
So do that first and foremost. Once you're used to that, then you can start to tune your plan and think about like what kind of content to write and how to get it in front of people and all that.
Once they get to that point, I thought maybe we'd mention the topic planning spreadsheet that we have. What elements are on that topic planning spreadsheet that so you're saying KPIs, right? Like, what do you want? What's the persona? What do you want people to do?
I actually have a YouTube video I could link to in the contents, or in the, what's it called? It's not the show notes, it's the comments on a Facebook Live, right?
You're going to comment on our Facebook Live? Oh,
somebody,
right.
Well, I mean, that's the only way I think to add it, but like we can put a link to this video in the comments where I go through our whole topic planning spreadsheet, because there's like, I think, 15 or 16 different columns. They're not all of equal importance and they're not all always relevant, but it's fairly involved. But off the top, the main things, we're going to identify what type of post it is, or like what the venue is going to be for getting eyeballs on it. So like, how are we getting eyeballs? With a lot of the ones we do, it's organic search. So you're going to rank in Google and people are going to click. But there's other ones, like for instance, we talked about social media promotion. If you're one of the people watching and you've got 8,000 Facebook friends or 50,000 Twitter followers, that's a legitimate vehicle for getting eyeballs on a blog post that you write. So it might be that you're looking to do it via share, or it might be syndication. Oh, hey, there's the link.
Hey, thanks and
Aaron.
subscribe.
So you might syndicate it somewhere, put it somewhere as a guest post, so on and so on. So one of the biggest things is, how are we getting eyeballs on it? Then we're identifying the persona, like who is it that's going to read this? We have a mission, so when this person reads this post, what is it we're hoping that they're going to do? Are they going to read it and just like you and remember you fondly? Are you going to have a link where you say, hey, if you like this, here's some more stuff on our site? Are you going to try to get them to buy something? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with this post? And then alongside that, there's a KPI column for like, how are we measuring success with this mission? Is it conversions, social engagements, shares? We're going to pick a way to see if it's successful. And then there's the nuts and bolts stuff, like what's the title of the blog post? If it's organic search, like what's the keyword? What are the stats on the keyword? And then we, for clients, will have a column that's like remarks or client notes, anything they want mentioned. Can't really think of others off the top. There's a bunch of stuff, but I think that covers most of it.
So that's what you can look forward to us doing for you if you become a client. But I think if you're just someone, looking to start your own blog, heed the Eric advice of just write, hit publish, write, hit publish.
Yeah, sorry for the light going in and out. The monitors are behind you, and when the screensaver goes on, it goes dark and then light.
It's just really weirdly cloudy out.
It's good. Yeah, there's a giant cloud. It's like an eclipse every 5 minutes exactly. I should set the timeout to be different.
Things are weird in Michigan.
Well,
All right.
On that note, I think we're all gonna.
Wave goodbye, buddy.
He looks kind of unhappy, even though he's
Yeah.
purring.
He's an always happy cat. He may look unhappy, but he's very meow. Well, all right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye from me, Eric, and Butters.